Hello and welcome to Rita's Roost. Well, I'm going to start this little quilt here today. It's going to be these pretty little cardinals. I don't know if you can see them or not. And I'm up here in my quilt house and I'm going to try to transition from my home up to this little room to do some of my stuff. So what I want to try to cut this morning, I'm going to make this simple. I'm going to make one of the little 3-yard quilts. And this one is going to be so simple. This is the pattern we're going to do. So it's going to be some 10.5-inch squares, and then it's going to have this these two colors as has the little 4 patch up there. So we're going to start cutting. So let's see how long it takes to cut this. It's not going to be a big top, it's going to be like a little lap quilt. So it'll be 48 by 58. So it's going to be small. I've got all the stuff for it. I just need to cut it up and start sewing it. So I've kind of studied my pattern before I started cutting. I've laid this out here and all I've done is square up this edge, and I've got this on the straight line. And this is my fabric 1. And I'm going to cut to 10.5 inches. So let's just cut those. This is going to be so quick and easy, we hope. Put that on 10.5. Cut that. And it's just fabric. If you mess it up, you don't want to mess it up, but if you do, you do. And since I don't do good math in my head, I'm just going to roll it, pull it down here and measure. Square it up. That 10.5. And this piece, we're going to cut it different. We'll cut 2 10.5 with the fabric. Cut 1 10.5. Sometimes when you're reading the directions, you have to kind of study them. Cut 2, cut 1. Okay. I think I got it. I'm going to cut another one. And then we're going to get a 10.5-inch square out of it, and then we're going to use the rest of it for another piece on the top. Get it squared up again. Now that piece is left over, so we're going to move it over to the side, and we're going to cut these two. We'll cut into 10.5. I'll show you this now. It's sparkle and shine. Can you see that? And I'm gonna cut this selvage off. Square it back up, line it up there. I think I moved it. Now, this piece and the rest of these I'll cut like this one. But let's see, it wants us to do something different with this piece. Now, one more. I didn't read it right. We're going to cut 2 10.5 off of this. You have to really pay attention and read it. And read it really close, because sometimes you'll get confused. Now that'll be that. Now it wants me to, from the remainder of this strip, cut 4 3.5 by 3.5 corner blocks. 3.5 by 3.5. The corner blocks, I'll show you what we're going to cut now. We're going to cut those, and then we're going to cut these little corner blocks here that goes in each corner. And 3.5 by 3.5. Have to have 4 of them. 1, 2, let me. I think it's going to take more than 1 to get the 4. Probably a better ruler to do them, but this one will work. 3.5 by 3.5. There's one of them. What's left over? Nope, that ain't big enough. Read my ruler. It slipped. Now, those we'll need, and I'm going to put this is pieces we don't need, so I'll put them over there. Now we're going to see what we want out of these pieces. I've got the red and the green to cut to do this part. And I will finish cutting that 10.5, but we're gonna move on for just a minute. I like this piece. It's really pretty. Square it up here. Down there. And I like to, when I get it laid out, if it's not straight, I'm going to move these, but I'm going to lay them right there. And I like to be able to walk around my cutting table. Now, go over here and read. This one is my, this is actually my fabric 2, and this is my, this is my fabric 3, and this is my fabric 2. So actually I'm going to move down here, cut 3, 5.5 width of fabric for strip assembly. 5.5. I know this ruler's 5. One, and yep, that's 5.5. Put this one 5 and two. Keep them a little straight. Pull it this way just a hair. Now those 3 I'll cut up again in a little bit. because we'll sew them in long strips before we cut them again. But let's see what else it wants. From fabric 3, cut 5, 3.5 for the border. Now we're going to want 3.5. One. 2. We read it again. 5 of them. I just keep having to talk to myself how many I want to cut. 3. Now this is a really simple little pattern. I've done more difficult ones, but this one I just wanted something that I really wouldn't have to think about. But you really have to think about all of them. Keep your mind on what you're doing. This is my border. And if I had a piece of paper with a pen, so I won't forget, I'm going to write border on that and put it and pin it on there, because I won't need that till the rest of it's done. And that's a leftover piece. Now let's see what we want on our green. This is for the strip assembly that we'll sew with this piece. Isn't that pretty? Let's hold that up there. Isn't that a pretty piece? Looks like pine needles. So we know we want 3 of the 5.5, and I'm going to square it up. Walk to the other side. I think it all cut off. Now cut my 3, 5.5, and it wiggles sometimes. 1. Gonna go with those. 2. And 3. When I get my sewing machine out, what I will do is I'll take these, take one of each and sew them together. And I'll sew them together, and then I'll cut them to make those other pieces. So that's what those are cut for. But let's see what they want the rest of this green. Go back to my pattern. That's not the right one. I've got more than one pattern laying here, and I'm going to confuse myself. Be careful. Cut 5, 1.5. So 1.5 has got a little tiny 1.5 border around it. Alright, let's do 1.5. It's itty bitty. Straighten it back up a little bit here. They just wiggle sometimes. One. Two. It did say 1.5. Two. Three. Four. Five. Now that's another of the border. The little teeny border. Let's lay it right there with that one. How about that? Now the rest of this piece is for the 1 1/4 for the binding. We're going to do the binding out of this green. But I'm not going to cut it yet. I'll cut it when I get ready for the binding. I'm going to make another little. This will be the binding. Alright. Let's see. Let's go back. Those are ready to sew. Let's go ahead and finish cutting these pieces right here. I don't need those corner ones yet. But let's cut our 10.5 for the rest of these. This is just a little lap quilt. It's not going to be anything big. Want to make sure when I cut I don't have that selvage left on there. So I got it all off. Move it down here to measure. So I'm going to get 4 out of each piece. Cut that selvage off. Don't want to end up with that in our quilt. And this fabric is sparkle and shine glitter. Pull this down here so I can measure easy. And those are cut and these are cut. When I come back in a little while, I'll have my sewing machine out and we'll start sewing this up. We'll have it whipped up in no time. Then we'll quilt it. We're just just going to have a little Christmas quilt going. Alright, it looked like it took me about 20 minutes to cut that. That's not bad. Anyway, be back with my sewing machine later.